Hello, I'm Jordan, and this is Andalusia Knits, my YouTube channel where I talk about all things knitting. And today I have a bit of a check-in or a follow-up episode looking at my 2026 knitting goals. So, like a lot of knitters around the end of the year last year, I created a video where I laid out all of the goals I wanted to accomplish in my knitting life in 2026. And now that we are 6 months through the year, which is absolutely crazy, but now that we are 6 months through the year, I wanted to check in and see how I have done on some of these. And spoiler alert, while, I've done pretty well on some of them, others I have ignored entirely and completely forgotten that I even had on this list. So this is going to be quite an interesting video. A lot of highs and a lot of lows in this goal list. And I think that's going to do it in terms of an introduction. I have a lot to talk about today. I want to hit the ground running. But before we get started, if you enjoy knitting videos like this in general, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an upload from me. But with that, let's get to the goals. So first, let's quickly run through the list of goals that I had as I presented them in the original video, and then I will go on to talk about my progress, and I will rank them by how successful I've been so far this year in doing them. And in going through this list, I watched the original video last night to jog my memory. And, my thought was that I probably won't remember every single thing that I wanted to do that I put on this list, but I imagine that my goals are still, the general direction, same vicinity as they were back at the end of 2025. And I was shocked to find that there were a couple goals on here that I completely did not remember making at all, and that I absolutely don't want to do anymore. And I don't believe that I wanted to do them when I put them on the list. I think I was just putting them on there to have more things on the list. So let's go through that original list, and then we'll go through and track my progress based on how successful I've been on each individual goal. So goal number one was that I wanted to begin work on a long-term project of creating a complete knitwear set. So I wanted to do like a sweater, a hat, a scarf, and a pair of socks and gloves. Just like 4 or 5 pieces that all create a cohesive outfit. Goal number two was I wanted to knit more patterns from other designers. Pretty self-explanatory. Goal number 3 was I wanted to expand my repertoire of knitting techniques, so I wanted to learn some new knitting techniques. Number 4 was publish more knitting patterns. Number 5 was get a head start on Christmas knits. So I made this list right around Christmas last time, and there were tons of people showing off their newly knit Christmas sweaters, and so I was getting some major FOMO. Goal number 6, I want to learn to crochet. Goal number 7, I want to try out felting. Goal number 8, I want to publish more video tutorials on YouTube. And goal number 9, I want to try another approach to spinning. So I've done spinning in the past with a drop spindle before, but my goal for this was to try some sort of other method. So either a supported spindle or some sort of spinning wheel. So that is the list of goals in the order that I had them in the video. And now let's go through goal by goal, but let's start with the most successful ones, and we'll work our way down to the least successful ones, and then we'll go even lower down to the ones where I'm just like, what was I thinking? Why did I put this on here to begin with? So the goal that I have absolutely been the most successful with so far this year has been publishing new knitting patterns. And so in the entirety of 2025, I released 2 patterns. And so far in 2026, I have already released 3. So I've already beaten my record for 2025, and we still got 6 months to go. And I do have another 3 patterns that are currently in various states of being finished. And I would like to finish those up and see how I feel, because these were all, ideas that have been rattling around in my brain for a while now. And so I definitely want to go ahead and get these 6 finished and out on paper. So there's never any shortage of sparks of ideas in my mind, but I also don't want to get into the habit of just churning them out so fast that I start to hate it or that the quality starts to suffer. So I'm going to finish up these 6 for the year and see how I feel. I'm sure there'll still be time left in the year. And I'm not opposed to making more, but if I can get all 6 of these complete, that will be I think that'll be good for 2026. And so I will go through now the 3 that I have released already and just talk about them kind of quickly. And some of these I have already made videos about, so So I'll link to those videos in the description below. And the ones that are already available on Ravelry, I will go ahead and link to my store as well so that you can find those and knit those yourself. The first pattern release I did this year, honestly, may be my favorite. It's probably the simplest of all the designs, but I have knit this thing so many times. I love it so much. And that is the Custom and Cozy pillow cover, which is this garter stitch pillow cover that I designed to be knit using any yarn and to knit with any size pillow. And I finally got that finished and got that put out. I want to say, I should have looked at the dates on when I released these. I think this one came out in April. If not, I'll correct myself on screen here now. Then my next release this year, I believe, was in May, and that is the Walking Distance scarf, which is this gorgeous striped intarsia scarf that has sort of like a mirror image thing going on with one side and the other. I like that while it is intarsia, the stripe design, it's not super challenging. It's a great first intarsia project. I kept it simple and rhythmic on purpose so that it would maybe not intimidate people who haven't given intarsia a try before. And my most recent pattern released for 2026 is more neckwear, but we got a cowl instead of a scarf this time. And this is the Chosen One cowl. And so this cowl is knit in stranded colorwork using a technique where I knit the background colors and purl the contrast colors. And I've been calling this like textured color work or pearl bump colored work. But yeah, if anyone has ever seen something like this, let me know. And if there's a name for it, I'd love to know, because I've been struggling to come up with one that sort of like very quickly and easily conveys exactly what's going on with it. Anyways, this is the Chosen One cowl. This is currently the third and final pattern I've released for 2026. And like I mentioned, if you want to check this out or any of the other patterns that I have talked about, I will leave a link to the Ravelry to my Ravelry store in the description below. So let's move on to the next goal now. So next up in the rankings was my goal to create more video tutorials this year. And this is another one that, like, even if I didn't do anything else on this for the rest of the year, I feel like I've accomplished my goal, because at this point I have released 2 or 3 depending on how you look at it. So the first one I released this year was how to knit an applied I-cord border around a stockinette fabric. And I did that in conjunction with the release of the Walking Distance pattern, which features an I-cord border around the edge of the scarf. And then my next tutorial was how to knit a provisional longtail cast on. So basically it is a variation of the longtail cast on that can also double as a provisional cast on. And I released that in conjunction with the release of the Chosen One cowl as a way to unpick your cast on edge when it's time to graft those starting stitches to the final stitches. And then I also released an entire walkthrough step-by-step tutorial for the Custom and Cozy pillow cover. So in addition to the written version, there is also a video version if there are any techniques or things like that that are unclear in the written pattern. But yeah, in terms of tutorials, that's fine. That's great. I'm happy with those numbers. I probably will release a couple more as the year goes on, because as you probably noticed, all of these tutorials are techniques that are featured in pattern releases of mine. So yeah, I probably will do a few more of those as the need arises. I don't see myself like just creating any out of the blue at this point. So the next goal is kind of an interesting one, because on the one hand, I have accomplished it at this point. I'm already done with it. But at the same time, this was also one of those goals that I definitely just added to the list to pad it out and make it look bigger and make myself feel more accomplished. And that was to give felting a try. And when I say give felting a try, I don't mean just like any sort of felting project. I specifically wanted to create a pair of sailor slippers. So I knit and felted this pair of slippers for my boyfriend. And it was a lot of fun. The pattern itself was great. And it was a very straightforward process. I'd never felted anything before, but I used the suggested yarn and just followed the instructions to a T, and everything worked out right on the first try. So this was a very cute project, but it wasn't so much like, I wasn't really hoping to like inspire a passion for felting. I just already knew that I was going to make these slippers for my boyfriend. And so it was like already on the to-do list. And I was like, well, I may as well attach a goal to it and like, get some like dopamine hit when I get these done. And so that's exactly what I did, and that's exactly what happened. I stand by my decision. But this is sort of like a weird one, an outlier. I don't have a ton more to say about this particular felting goal, but this goal does help me segue into the next one, which I did okay. I've done okay at so far. I know there's still time left in the year, but I don't know how this one's going to turn out either. And that was the goal to knit more projects from other designers. So even before I started releasing patterns myself, a lot of my knits, a lot of my projects were things that I was coming up with and designing myself. And while that's fun, it's time consuming. Like in addition to the knitting, you also have to like create the pattern and think through the logistics and do all that extra stuff in the background. And so sometimes you just want to like sit down and knit a pattern. And so I've done okay. The sailor slippers are the only project that I have completed so far from start to finish. That is somebody else's design. But I have a few others that are in various stages of completion. One of them is incomplete and probably going to stay incomplete. So the first project that I started, and that is probably not going to get finished at this point, is Andrea Mowry's Ooey Gooey Cowl. And I knit this in boucle yarn. It's not originally intended to be knit in boucle yarn, and I wasn't entirely sure that stranded color work was something that boucle would thrive at or even be possible to do in. But this thing has turned out so well. Like the knitting itself, it was an absolute pain. It was an absolute slog. Like this was not fun to do at all, but oh my gosh, the finished result, so worth it. I love how like this doesn't look, it doesn't look knit. It looks like this was like rug tufted or something because it's just so fuzzy and creates just such a solid um contiguous, is that the word, fabric? I don't know. It's just you cannot see any stitch definition whatsoever in the best way possible in this thing. As much as I appreciate the knitting and I appreciate the effect of the color work, the reason this is going to stay incomplete is the provisional cast on. But that was the wrong choice for this boucle because it is just like impossible to unpick because this boucle yarn is just so sticky. There's so many like loose fibers that are getting tangled around the hook and tangled around the provisional cast on yarn. And so I love this thing. I'm going to keep it around just because honestly, it's some of the best knitting I've ever done, unfortunately. But I don't think this is going to be a finished object anytime soon, just simply because as much of a hassle as the boucle has been throughout the process of creating this, like the biggest hassle, the biggest hurdle with the boucle is this final like unpicking the bind off and grafting this together. And so finally, in terms of patterns by other designers, I have started the Sandpoint Pullover by Elizabeth Morrison this year. And this is a cute, just simple sweater design with a zipper collar in the front, which I've never done before. I'm excited to give that a try. And this pattern, while I have every intention of finishing it, unlike the cowl, it's a simple design. It's a lot of stockinette knitting, and this has become my project that I take out when, you know, I don't really have anything else to knit, or when I don't have a ton of time, or I don't have a ton of concentration to give, because it's just a lot of basic stockinette knitting. And so I haven't made a ton of progress, but I have gotten some. I've finished up the back panel, which is basically just stockinette with some ribbing down at the bottom, and then just a little ridge of a reverse stockinette here in the middle of the body. And then I've also completed a sleeve, and I really love the sleeves. Like the design itself, it's not super duper like eye-catching or attention-grabbing, but I just love a little clean detail like this. So the sleeve also has ribbing down here at the bottom, 2x2, and then some of the ribbing in the middle of the sleeve continues on up through the entire length of it, all the way to the top. And I think that is so cute. But this sweater, yeah, it'll get done eventually. I'm not knitting on it regularly. It's not something that gets worked on every single week or every single day. But I'd like to have it done by the time it gets cool enough to wear. Well, a lot of stuff I've shown you so far, like there, I'm in no position right now to wear this stuff in the middle of summer. So there's not a huge rush on this sweater, but it would be nice to have a new one to throw into the rotation this fall and this winter. So this next goal, I technically haven't done anything yet towards it this year, but that is going to change very quickly. And that goal is learning how to crochet. So I know some of the very like beginner basics of crochet, and I think I'm about to get a trial by fire in it because I have signed up for the Homage to the Granny Square course. And so this is a course that is run by the Mercery, which is a crochet business that was formerly run by Sue Matten, who very tragically and very quickly died of a dementia-related illness this year. But her loved ones and her family have continued her work and continued offering these courses that she created. And one of them being the Homage to the Granny Square. And this is a class where I will ideally, hopefully, learn, I think, like 10 different variations on the Granny Square and create just an absolutely like beautiful, bonkers Granny Square blanket in the process. And I'll put up a picture of what a finished result looks like because it's truly like mind-boggling what you're able to do in this course. Now, the course says that ideally you will be familiar with the basics of crochet when you begin, but they said that if you're feeling adventurous and don't know much, that if you stay motivated, you'll probably be okay. And so I'm hoping that I am adventurous and motivated enough that I will probably be okay. I think I will because there's like a ton of like video tutorials, and honestly, that's all I need. I just want to like sit down and like watch someone do a technique like 10 or 15 times and it'll be okay. So I think the process is probably going to be slow going at first because I'm an absolute beginner, but ideally I think the level of support that this course will offer is going to be enough that it's going to be able to like drag me across the finish line and get me confident in doing some more crochet. Okay, so as far as the rest of the goals on my list, all of these I've done pretty blah so far this year. And I'm going to kind of group them into two groups. The first group being goals that I haven't done anything on yet, but there's still time, there's still hope for me to redeem myself on them. And the other group is goals that I'm probably it's time to drop them. Like, I don't know why they made the list in the first place, honestly, and they're definitely not getting done this year. So let's go over the goals that I haven't done any work on, but there's still time in the year for me to do. And those goals are learn some new knitting techniques and get a head start on knitting a Christmas sweater. So it's kind of embarrassing that I haven't learned any new techniques this year. So technically, I guess I have learned one, the provisional longtail cast on that I mentioned earlier and that I have a video tutorial on. That's the one thing that going into 2026, I did not know that that was possible. So I didn't know how to do it, although technically I did know how to do it because it's basically done in the exact same way as a regular longtail cast on. So I don't know if that one should count. But it's just one of those things, like, I don't know, just nothing has come up so far that has necessitated me learning a new technique. Things in the past where I've just tried to learn just like random isolated knitting things, like that information never sticks around long in my head because it's not attached to anything concrete. It's not attached to like an actual project. The other thing was getting started on a Christmas sweater, and the fact that I haven't started one by this point is absolutely fine. You know, like I said, this goal really came up because I was making the original video around Christmas time when everybody was showing off their beautiful finished Christmas sweaters. And I really wanted one. And I even said in that video, like, that's not something I gotta immediately think about. I can put it off until, July or August. And so here we go. That's perfect timing. But, at this point, I don't know. Like, I don't have the FOMO anymore. Like, I'm not craving a Christmas sweater right at this very moment. But I'm pretty certain that when Christmas rolls around again this year, I am going to be craving another one. So, I don't know. I'm really torn. I'm not in the mood right now, but I know that, like, by the time I am in the mood, it's going to be too late. And finally, these last two goals, I haven't done much, and I'm not going to do much if I'm being honest on them. And those are learning a new spinning technique and designing a knitwear set. And so the spinning, I started spinning, it's been a few years now, maybe 2 or 3, bought a spindle. And I've really enjoyed what spinning I've done. And for a time, I did think that maybe it could be a hobby that might rival my interest in knitting. But over the last like year or so, I've just kind of like waned in my interest in doing it. I don't hate it. Like every once in a while, it is a fun thing to do, but I don't know if I am ready to like go out and like buy this whole new setup at this point. Like I wanted to try like a spinning wheel or something, and I don't know that I have that in me at this point anymore. It's just my heart really lies in the knitting and the designing. Now that being said, I do have a fair amount of hand spun yarn in my stash that I pulled out this morning in preparation for filming this video just to see what was in there. And I absolutely want to knit with this stuff. I need to knit with this stuff. And seeing it makes me want to do it a little bit more, but it doesn't make me want to like go out and drop hundreds on an e-spinner or thousands on a traditional spinning wheel. It makes me want to pull out my $20 drop spindle and maybe, over the course of 6 months spin 100 grams or whatever, because it can be a slog. But I really do like the results I got. So I pulled out, this is my most recent spin from like a year or so ago, and it is a 3-color marl that is very hard to like render accurately on camera just because of how deep the reds and the browns and the orange colors are. But I really I have a fair amount of this yarn in my stash, probably like a couple 100 grams. My goal at the time was to do a sweater spin. Yeah, that didn't happen. I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad I'm not still working on that. But I have enough that, yeah, like I need to do something with this. But in terms of like new spinning, I think I'm going to stick with a spindle and just like do the occasional spinning project from time to time. So the other one that's not going to happen this year is the knitwear set. I got literally mad at myself when I sat down to watch this video and heard those words come out of my mouth, because like releasing 6 patterns that I talked about earlier this year, ideally that's what's going to happen, that's hard enough. But the thought of having to release like 5 or 6 patterns that all like go together, that all match, that all look good when you wear them in combination with one another, that's just like, that's a bridge too far. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I thought that would be fun for me at this point in my design life when I'm still such a young, inexperienced designer. That does not sound fun at all. It's one of those things, I don't know that I was interested in doing it at the time when I said it originally. I think that might have just been one of those things that like sounded like a noble knitting goal, and so I put it on there and just hoped that eventually I would get on board with the process. But I haven't, and that's okay. Once again, like I have so many of these goals that I have already knocked out of the park for this year, and so many that are well on their way, that it's okay to let a few things drop, especially the things that you don't actually want to do. Alrighty, well, there you go. Those are my 2026 goals and the progress that I've made on them so far. And I have to say, I haven't done half bad on them. There have been a few that have been a mixed bag, but overall, I'm proud of the progress that I've made. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you've been working on this year and any goals that you've hit so far. I'd love to hear about them. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It helps me know what sort of videos you'd like to see from me, and it helps YouTube know what sorts of videos you'd like to see from me. If you want to make sure that you never miss an upload from me, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I typically upload 1 to 2 videos a week at this point, and it's about all things knitting, and I'd love to have you around. But for now, I think I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you in the next video.